Maxie, I've been thinking, should we do season 3 on the Dr. Joe show? You sure? You sure it's a good idea? You know, that's what I'm talking about. You caught me. Welcome to the Dr. Joe show. I just can't stop smelling these things. I'm sorry. They're freaking awesome. You know, sometimes I come home from work, open up my humidor, and you know, it's weird. During the day, I'll think about what cigar I want to smoke, and no matter which one I decide on, when I get home, the decision always changes. It always becomes something else, because I'll sit there for a good 5-10 minutes and just start pulling out boxes and smelling this and smelling that, and eventually something will catch my eye and I'll say, that's the one. Often that one is Ramon Allones, or, as everybody in America says, Ramon Allones. It's a bit of a joke. We'll get to that. We are going to have a great episode here. You've seen the package arrival / box opening and all that already, and you've also seen the limited edition Ramon Allones jar produced by Diadema, Italian distributor of Habanos, Italy. And it's going to be a great episode. We're going to do some brand history, brief brand history, because it's a bit of an obscure brand as far as, well, history goes. We're going to do viewer emails and comments, because it's been a very long time and there have been a ton of comments that I am going to backtrack on and answer every one, I promise, just like I answer every email. Sorry about that. Eventually things will get down to the point where it's more organized, and you know, you'll know when seasons are going to start and begin and stuff like that. But you know, hey, I never expected to come this far, and there are a lot of things in the background as far as production goes, in the works. So you'll have to forgive me as far as timetables go. But excuse me. But carbon. I was drinking seltzer before. But one thing I have made certain is to pre-record a whole bunch of episodes so that every weekend you'll have a new Dr. Joe show episode for some time. I figured that was probably the best way to do it, since with all this background production I'm mentioning, I don't know exactly when I'll have the chance to record. Also, it's fucking freezing cold in the Dr. Joe Show smoking lounge, if you want to call it that. So, you know, I'm picking some warmer days, which means, you know, above freezing or above zero, you know. So, anyway, enough of that. Let's get started. We're going to pick a beauty from this box. By the way, we're going to pick a beauty from this box and start smoking, start reviewing, do our whole little process, and give you some brand history for starters. This box is from December 2013. I want to make something clear also. When I shot the box opening, the receiving of this box, it was during the summer of 2014 when I received this. I tucked it away into my humidor, and now it is February 2015, so these are over a year old now. December 2013, December 2014, 2015. They're over a year old. Even so, it's just worth mentioning. Well, we'll save that for the episode. Anyway, December 2013, Ramon Allones Specially Selected. All right, so here we are. Let's get her fired up. Let's get started. Gonna give it a little clip. You know, now, This is one of my favorite brands. And we'll get into, we'll get into why that's a very interesting thing, actually. Very interesting. There we go. Really nice, gnarly looking tobacco down at the end there. Oh, wow. What a great pre-draw. Great pre-draw. I put my tongue up against the filler. Got a nice salty sour note. Nice just raw Cuban tobacco flavor. It's a bit toasty. A bit toasty, a bit earthy. More than a bit earthy. A little nutty. Very flavorful. Very, very flavorful. A little bit of natural sweetness going on there. Toasty, earthy. A little sweet, kind of like toffee. A little bit of spice coming through. Earthy, just really nice. Really pleasant. This is promising to be a very flavorful cigar. The draw feels good. Very, very nice. Very, very faint hints of a little floral kind of notes going on there. Really nice. Let's light her up. There we go. Saw that? So cold down here, the sulfur was just kind of sizzling and not lighting, not igniting. There we go. Oh, excellent. 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 Very earthy on the light. Earthy, toasty, little bit of coffee coming through right away. Still that natural sweetness there, but it drops more to the back. It's like coffee and toffee. Very nice. Very nice. A little bit of, it's that, I call that salt and sour, that twang. And I can't, it's such a stupid word, and it's become so nailed in, associated with Cuban cigars, but that's what it is, man. Just a wonderful twang. That's nice. A little nutty now. So very toasty. Oh, that is great. That's just great. I had to just stop for a second and take a few puffs, let it all sink in, and I tell you, I'm feeling good already. I love... There's just nothing better when you cut and light a cigar and everything comes together and you look at it and you just feel like you accomplished something when the burn is so perfect, It's just so terrible when you get a cigar and you light it and it starts going crazy and you're like, shit, man, did I fuck it up or did they roll it bad or what's going on here? There's nothing worse than that. I tell people, sometimes it's really not worth the struggle. It's not worth the fight. If you go to a cigar shop, on a daily or week, enough that they know you there. And you buy cigars every day, you sit in there, lounge and smoke. Once in a while you get one and you light it up and it just starts going crazy. Say, hey, listen, this thing. If you're a regular customer and you spend money regularly and you don't often do that, they should give you a new cigar. I would, because it's just, there's nothing worse than sitting there struggling with something that Anyway, obviously you could tell I've had a bad experience recently on my own time smoking. And you know what the best thing to do sometimes is? And I know it sucks because it costs money, but just go get another one. It's just not worth the fucking struggle. Anyway, that's how good this one is burning now. Beautiful. Look at that white ash, that light white gray ash. Beautiful. Beautiful. Other than the pre-draw notes, the light notes, everything instantly, man, there's so much flavor on that pre-draw. And as soon as I lit it, it's just flavors that weren't even, that I didn't even know were going to happen. And all of a sudden I'm tasting like, oh, just wonderful floral notes. You know, the spice kind of toned down right away. The twang toned down right away. Everything kind of laid down a little bit, you know. Really, really nice, just medium bodied, medium flavor. Very, very nice. Extremely smooth. Nutty notes. Toasty. Just earthy. Earthy. And just the right level of salt and spice. And everything is just wonderful right now. You know, we're going to get more into the flavor later. Wonderful natural underlying sweetness to it. Kind of like almost like toffee notes, you know, little caramelly, but very subtle, you know. It's not like, some people confuse it. Listen, one of the easiest realms in which people get lost in translation is when one person is trying to describe flavors to another, you know, with cigars and everything. It's a natural sweetness. It's not like you put it in your mouth and it tastes like a candy cane, you know. I've had a few people questioning, you know, lately, like, well, what do you mean by, well, you know what, I don't know. Why don't you smoke one and see what I mean? That's really nice. Really nice. Mellow. Very mellow. It seems more mellow than it should be for the strength of the cigar because I'm feeling it already. So I know that power-wise, nicotine-wise, there's some kick here. Very, very nice. Okay, so let's get started because, believe it or not, as short as the brand history is for Ramon Allones, I have a lot in store for you as far as viewer emails and comments go because we haven't done this for a long time and I want to get back to a lot of people and a lot of different people have said some great things and some shitty things and we will get to that. The brand history, you know how much I love to do brand history. And when I can, I try to put together a great episode. Unfortunately, we're starting to cross over into the realm now of cigar brands, of Cuban cigar brands, that do not have an extensive, extravagant history. Some of them actually, which I will probably try to mix in rather than save all for the end, have very, very short, obscure histories that are hardly even known. We do have a few big ones left that I'm saving to, like I said, I want to kind of balance it out. There's Hoyo de Monterrey, which we haven't done yet. We've done about half of the existing Cuban cigar brands. But anyway, to cut to the chase, Ramon Allones was created in Cuba by brothers Ramon and Antonio Allones. The date, this is how obscure this brand history is. The date at which it was actually established is arguable. Between 1837 and 1845. 1845 is a big date. That's when Partagas first opened up their big factory and everything. So it's somewhere between there. I'm thinking to myself that the official date, the reason for that is that the official date that the brand was established would have been the date that the brand went into the Cuban Cigar Registry of official brands. You know, before that, they were probably making their own boxes and selling their cigars here and there, so they were kind of in existence, but not. Maybe some sort of Cuban cigar limbo, really. Anyway, so between 1837 and 1845, Ramon and Antonio Allones established a brand, Ramon Allones. It's worth pointing out, because we have heard this name before, Antonio Allones, in our El Rey del Mundo episode, that This Antonio Allones has nothing to do with the other. He is not the same person. The Antonio Allones that purchased or received, it's kind of another one of those discrepancies, the El Rey del Mundo brand, when the original German business owner Olmsted died, is not the same Antonio Allones, who is the brother of Ramon Allones. So, that being known, the two brands really have no connection. Another very interesting thing about the Ramon Allones brand, and this is probably going to be the most interesting thing I say throughout this brand history, is what they are credited for. And that is starting the whole thing with fancy dress boxes, with artwork, lithographs inside, full color, the first to put bands on cigars, the first to establish the famed 898 format, you know, box of 25 cigars, 898, a lot of different things. Now, of course, just like every fucking other thing we go through with Cuban cigar history, there are other brands that claim this is not true, that they were the first. Not really brands anymore because they're all under one brand, Habanos S.A. But there were other brands saying, no, we did that first, but there couldn't have been that many. I mean, not by today's standards, because there are only 27 left, and few are older than 1837. There's Por Larrañaga, which is very, very old, Partagas itself, if you don't count the factory date as the starting date, a couple of others, but it's likely, most likely, that Ramon Allones is the first brand that did all of the aforementioned, which is a very, very, very big thing if you think about it, because up to this day, it is how the entire industry presents itself. Think about it. Cigar art, dress boxes, bands on cigars. The 898 format, well, there are a lot of different formats, but still, very famous. Some of the most famous boxes of cigars, most sought-after boxes of cigars are in 898 formats. Partagas 898s, La Gloria Cubana, Medellín number 2s, and 1s, and 4s. A lot of different ones. So that's really a very big thing if you think about it. It's like saying your company established the forever herefore after of how every cigar in the world would present itself up to this date. Very, very, very interesting. So it's obvious why other brands would want to argue the fact that, no, we were the ones who came up with that. But for the sake of knowing, for knowledge, we're going to say on this show that it was most likely Ramon Allones who did that. Now, the brand went through a whole bunch of different ownership changes until finally it came to rest with none other than the Cifuentes family. This is very, very interesting. And of course, being with the Cifuentes, was produced at the Partagas factory, where it stayed for many, 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 many years. In fact, forever, until the Partagas factory closed. Now, I said that's very interesting, and here's why. It's very interesting personally to me, because several years ago, for some time, I did not know that. I did not have that knowledge. And when I first started smoking Cuban cigars, it was about 10 years ago now, about a decade. I first started buying Cuban cigars online in the early 2000s, so it was a long time ago. And my first Cuban cigar was the La Gloria Cubana Medellín number 2, and it blew me away, knocked my socks off, never tasted flavor like that before, and I had been smoking cigars for some time prior to that, mind you. And it instantly became my number one favorite brand. It holds a special place in my heart. And it's not only because of that. I sincerely love the blend. Love it. And I'm not, before that I was never a huge fan of mild cigars, but all that aside, I love La Gloria Cubana. Of course, I started smoking Partagas. I started smoking Bolivar. Bolivar became an instant favorite because it was a strong Cuban cigar, and I love strong cigars, and the flavor is awesome. And of course, Partagas. Who doesn't like Partagas? The D4's another one of my favorite cigars. The Lusitanias that we reviewed here. Both cigars we reviewed here, actually. Another one of my favorite cigars. All three made by Partagas at the Partagas factory after the revolution and before. And then I learned that Ramon Allones was also made at the Partagas factory. But before I learned that, I started smoking Ramon Allones Specially Selected, and it became an instant favorite. So much so that I always have a 50 cabinet on hand. You know, the 50 cabinet you saw, well, actually, I just put it upstairs because it's just too cold down here. The 50 cabinet you saw must be, I don't know, my 5th or 6th one. And every time I get to the last cigar, I order another one. This is one of my daily staples. I love this cigar. And what the fuck? Oh, shit. I moved my ashtray when I put the box away. Shit. Hold on. I know my ash is about to fall, and I said to myself, I moved my fucking ashtray. There we go. So, long story short, Ramon Allones also made it to Partagas. Now, don't you think it's odd that 4 brands that I like the most, probably the most out of all Cuban cigar brands, were all made at the same factory for so many years? You know, there are flavor similarities, blend similarities between Partagas, Ramon Allones, and even La Gloria Cubana. Bolivar, not so much, you know. But I find that odd. It's interesting. It's a lot more interesting than if I were to say, oh, my favorite brands are, I don't know, Cohiba, H. Upmann, and Hoyo de Monterrey, you know, or whatever, any 3 or 4 brands, and they're all made by different people in different places. So obviously I have an affinity for the Partagas style and the Partagas blends. That's pretty cool. Say goodnight, Max.